is Stephen Scholl, and this is my applied research presentation. The title of my project is The Effect of Electronic Dictionary Usage on Achievement Scores of Year 9 A2 level Chinese ESL students at a suburban international school. I'll begin with a summary of my literature review. Language in ESL teaching began with grammar translation methods. These involved a large amount of translation in the classroom. These were later replaced with communicative and content-based language instruction, which discouraged the use of the first language in the classroom. Much recent research supports the use of the student's first language in the ESL classroom. For example, Collier and Thomas and Miriam Shook and Schroeder. However, there are still numerous critics of translation and first language use in the classroom, such as Christine Rossel and Tan. As for the background to my study, I'm currently working in China, and I noticed that many people who do not speak English communicate through the use of instantaneous translation apps, taxi drivers, and so forth. And I noticed that many of my students also used instantaneous translation bilingual dictionaries in the classroom. Many of them did, and many of them didn't. Some of my colleagues approved of their students using these dictionaries, but some of my colleagues did not. Some of my colleagues use Chinese in the classroom, and some of my colleagues do not. So I decided to design a quasi-experimental study. The purpose statement is that the study is to examine the effect of reported dictionary usage upon final achievement marks in a population of Year 9 students at the school that I work at. My research question is, does the usage of electronic dictionaries affect the final combined achievement test scores of Year 9 students at the school I work at the A2 level? My independent variable would be the usage of electronic dictionaries, and my dependent variable would be the final test marks. I chose to focus on final test marks, which are a combination of speaking, listening, reading, and writing scores from classwork activities and a final test. My null hypothesis will be that there will not be a statistically significant difference between the average scores of final marks for students who reported using dictionaries versus those who did not report using dictionaries. The setting of my project is a large international curriculum K-12 private boarding school. This is located in a new development in suburban China near the capital, Beijing. There are 400 students total and 110 students in the middle school where I work, years 7 through 9. The curriculum is based around preparation for Cambridge exams, such as the Key English Test and the Preliminary English Test, KET and PET. Participants in the study are Year 9 students at the middle school where I work. These are students ages 4 to 15 with very high socioeconomic status, but many of them have been expelled from more strict state schools and have special learning needs and discipline problems which have not been addressed due to Chinese cultural issues. Level placement is done through a combination of interviews, prior grades and test marks, and a standardized test from the Cambridge Test Service. Students are placed in classes according to the levels A1 beginner, A2 pre-intermediate, and B1 intermediate. Invitations and consent forms were translated into Chinese to ensure that the students understood them completely, and these were distributed in their homeroom classes, which I visited each morning for 10 minutes. My data collection instrument consisted of 3 questions. Do you own a Chinese to English electronic dictionary? Do you have your electronic dictionary here at the school? And did you frequently use your electronic dictionary in your English class last semester? These were also translated into Chinese to ensure that the students understood them completely. In order to check the reliability and validity of my data measuring instrument, I checked with all of the teachers to make sure that the responses of the students seemed to match what they had seen in the classroom. I discarded the results of B1 level students as well because they were clearly studying at a different level than the other students. Responses were collated and compared to final achievement mark results, which I had access to as part of my job description. Next, I examined all the assumptions necessary to run an independent t-test. My sample size was greater than 30. The dependent variable grade was measured at the ratio level. There was no reason to think that one participant's scores had influenced another participant's scores, and the histograms indicated a normal distribution. Furthermore, Levine's test of variance had a significance of 0.771. Since all of the assumptions were met, the data was then analyzed using an independent t-test. Group statistics analysis indicated that the mean score for dictionary users was 70.61, whereas the mean score for dictionary non-users was 56.23. Furthermore, the results of the independent samples test indicated a significance of 0.042, which was lower than 0.05, indicating that we can reject the null hypothesis. Average test scores were more than 13 points higher for dictionary users than for non-dictionary users. The results of the independent t-test showed that this difference was statistically significant at p equals 0.04, and Cohen's d was 0.78, indicating a large effect size. Therefore, the results indicate a statistically significant reason to reject the null hypothesis that dictionary usage does not affect final test scores. My findings tend to support what Collier and Thomas and Miriam Shook and Schroeder have said, that first language use in the classroom is an important part of second language development. My results seem to contradict the results of Tan, who indicated that dictionary usage led to lower standardized test scores among Chinese students. Some limitations of my study include the fact that it's difficult to control for variables such as special learning needs and the actual amount of dictionary usage. It's also difficult to control for how much Chinese might have been used by English teachers in the classroom. Another problem is that the final marks were not standardized. They were collated from different marks in different classes from 3 different teachers. The results of my study suggest that there are advantages to increased use of translation in the classroom. Translation software is more available than dual language teachers in many cases and could be used in a classroom where the students speak numerous different languages. But in general, further study is needed to determine the nature of the relationship between dictionary usage and test scores. In conclusion, it remains to be seen whether these instantaneous translation apps and devices will be an aid to language learning or a replacement for it. Thank you. That is the end of my presentation.